Hey guys, we're back on GG playing some 2-5 and 1-2. The bottom right is 1-2, the rest are 2-5, and I'll try and, if higher stakes games run, I'll try and swap them out. But most importantly, we just want to be put in some tough spots, have some interesting decisions, try and share some insights with you guys. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to give us a thumbs up, really helps out. Subscribe to the channel so you can see when our content is released. And as usual, feel free to check out our website if you're interested in getting some coaching. We help low stakes players, small stakes players will say, I guess, if you're playing 100 mil and above, you're trying to get high stakes, we can definitely help you out. So head over to the website. But enough of the plugs. Let's just play poker, try and make good decisions. This guy's playing 70% of hands. I'm just gonna shove versus a limp. I think he's gonna be pretty capped. Yeah. And is live to just call off worse hands. Defend a 3-bet bottom right and fold flop. I think in this rate, I think it's definitely close for some in-raise, but I think still just want to fold. Low frequency 3-bet here. All right, looks like we have a fresh 2-5 table. Pop that in. All right, ace queen, what appears to be recreational players opening. Start with 3-bet. I'm gonna get snap min 4-bet. And we're about to get stacked. Okay, call. All right, nice. We aren't getting stacked quite yet. And sure, we'll run it 3 times in the video. I don't typically run it multiple times here against, especially short stack recreational players, but in this scenario, if this guy, we want him to have fun. So if he wants to run 3 times and that increases the likelihood he'll rebuy, play some more, then that's good for the game. So, or good for me. But yeah, good result. Top right. So we're not really gonna have any. Definitely like a pretty good run up for us. When he big bets flop, we're definitely gonna need to bluff some hands here. As in like turn some hands and bluffs, because he's big bet flop. We have to bluff a lot of 5x. So I think I'm just gonna play one size or play a lot of pot. I don't think I can go too big here on the 9 river, just because I don't really have a ton of full houses in this line. Because he big bet flop, so a lot of our 2-pair raise flop in our sets. So when we get to this spot, we mainly have like some 9x, some flushes, and then some jack X. So this will probably be the biggest size I would use here. It's probably best to bluff a 5 here over everything because, like, you know, the other option is bluffing an 8, right? If you think of just your river range, when you big bets flop, if like king queen, so that would be a bluff for sure. But like queen 10 gets there, 10-7 gets there, 10-8 pairs up, and a lot of those hands don't block value. So 10-8, we don't really block any value in the line he plays. This game's probably gonna break. So I'm gonna just sit out and swap a different table in. If somehow that game continues to run, I guess I'm sitting out, so I won't know. I was gonna say it's still run 3-handed. Yeah, I just don't think that's typically that's just gonna be go down to heads up, and I'll not really gonna want to play heads up in this type of format. It just takes too much of the focus away from the commentary, and the action just requires a lot of focus. Versus the min raise, this hand's probably pretty close. Check, check. Not a board we're going to be getting to stab too often. So I'm going to check this hand. So we block the straight, block the flush. We're going to have more king X in this line, more 10X in this line, probably more flushes. So I think this is a reasonable hand to bluff. And similar to the last hand, I'm just going to play pot. So I don't flat a ton in this rake environment, but I think this is okay. Good to play in position versus a wide range. Gonna be tough to make any maneuvers on that flop. But we will definitely just like, we can't just call, hope we hit a set or else get a showdown. I'm not going to flat here from the cutoff though. I'm going to swap this table. This table just because there's an aggressive recreational player at this table. Probably will put us in more interesting spots than the short stack, more passive player. I mean, this is just a 3-bet for value to get in versus the 82 BPIP. And top right, we flop top air, top-ish kicker. You can have a bit of ace king, but for the most part, it's top air, top kicker. And here with king queen, we're just, we're all in. So I'm gonna check, I think this time with this hand. Gonna have to mix in a lot of checks on this turn with this type of hand, some 10X. It's just a turn you're gonna have to do a lot of mixing on. And we're basically dead here. So let's run this. All right. Oh yeah, pick up outs. Okay, so I think I'm fine with this. Outside of the times he's like rivered pocket 5s, it's very tough for us not to have the best hand. He could turn a hand like ace-5 into a bluff here and shove, especially if he has like ace-5 of hearts, so he blocks like my ace-10 of hearts. But more likely as ace-jack. No, ace-4. Okay. Ace-jack, so it depends. If he thinks I value bet ace-jack, then he calls for that size. If not, if he thinks my value betting range is maybe ace-queen plus, then his call actually is better with ace-4, and then he would want to fold like ace-jack more because ace jack would actually just block bluffs for the most part. I'm gonna lead flop here. It's a good board for our range. My opponent shouldn't do a ton of this. Unfortunately, I think this hand makes a reasonable flop 3-bet. Unfortunately, I don't think this opponent plays many like bluff raises here. So, and like, I also am not convinced if he has like pocket jacks here, he's concerned at all. Like, as in, if he has any overpair that raises the flop, I think he's just like, ooh, I have an overpair. So my fold equity is diminished. His range is stronger than it should be. So we're gonna, I have pair and open ender here, so definitely gonna call twice. And potentially turn this hand into a bluff on some rivers. 7 would be reasonable here now. Top right, I'm just gonna fold. But most likely on this river, we will just check and lose. Unless my opponent was bluffing with, ace jack of hearts and now gives up. But yeah, I just don't think this player type is raising me on this flop with anything that isn't paired. Or, yeah, mainly just like strong hands. So I'm fine with how the hand played out. Top right, my opponent check raise flop, checks turn, stab, and bluff this hand on a lot of rivers. Or value bet. So here I'm probably going to play this size and a really big size. This is going to be, like, it's very hard for my opponent to have a king here. So I could basically value bet any king that gets here. And versus this, my opponent, if he check raised a queen, say he was bluffing with like queen 5 of diamonds, and when check raise, check call, then he'll have to call that, obviously. But he'll have to call probably even some weaker hands than that for sure, just based on what my range looks like. A good start. We have aces, and our recreational player has opened to 3 big blinds. And he's deep. Unfortunately, we are not deep as well. I'm gonna start with a check here. The other option is bet really small, but I think I'm cool with check here versus this player type. If he has a 10, I'm gonna get stacked, especially when he bets this size. So if he has a 10, he's getting all my money, and that's just how this spot's gonna work. I will not be clicking this button at any point in this hand. On any run out, I will just be clicking this button. So if he goes all in, I will be calling, and if he has a 10, I will be losing. So here we go. Next 10, that's good. This could be the opposite of a 10 if I check the charts. So good result. Check seems like it was the good play. Also, like I said, I don't really play much 1-2, so I think that guy's played higher, so he could really just be willing to splash around when he plays 1-2. Dry board top left, ace 9 7, just very difficult board for the big blind to defend. I'm going to use a small size, and you'd be able to utilize my pocket pairs between an ace and a 9 and just attack all of his like king 4 suited, king 5 suited type hands. Unfortunately here, I'm just gonna have to fold this draw. I have a gut shot to the nuts, but this card just blocks too many bluffs, and I just don't have enough equity versus range. All right. This guy's playing every hand. I'm gonna value bet my hand and, you know, decide what to do later. Mainly check here and use this as a bluff catcher pretty often. Definitely on that river. If you're playing 74% of the deck and top pair pairs, it's very hard to have trips. So I'll lose to a 9 here sometimes for sure. But yeah, you're just gonna have way too much air. This is actually, you know, for the board, that's better than I was expecting. His hand makes perfect sense for the board. But he's gonna have, you know, much worse than that. Bottom right, we 3-bet 9s, just see bet flop and took it down. Good result for 9s on that flop. I'm going to be squeezing here, probably no matter what happens. If he shoves, it's going to be 15 bigs. I mean, I'm not folding, so it's just if I want to jam or call myself. Like, sorry, jam myself or just call. He folds, though. And now I'm going to sometimes cold 4-bet this, but not that time. Bottom right, I went for the C-bet on double Broadway board. Turn, I'm going to be playing pretty big size and check, but this hand is going to check. And then we have a pretty reasonable bluff catch and a pretty reasonable value bet. But we just get the snap fold. If this guy V-bips, I'm probably just going to play for 15 bigs against him. Okay. And I'm going to 3-bet here with 10-9 suited. And fold the 4-bet. This hand is going to be, I believe, a mix versus the 4-bet. And I think I'm just going to go fold this time. I'm going to try and steal here with the Jack-8 off versus a short stack and expect this bet to just do very well versus this player type. Squeeze here with the pocket queens, another pretty good spot. I don't have many 2 overcard hands to the jack, so I'm just going to quick call when I have king queen here. I don't really have great raising properties and obviously fold here. And this, if this player back jams, we'll be all in. And we'll be looking to put in as much money as possible on this board. All right. So based on everything I said, I'm going to definitely have a reasonable amount of air on this river. But not that much. So I think I'm going to use this as a bluff. And if this player has a better hand than me, then he gets all of my chips. Easy fold there. And we will value bet this river. If my opponent donk jams, I'm just going to call. Just because recreational players. I don't think he'll donk jam necessarily worse for value. But I do think he will just randomly just donk jam like a hand I have. Like a hand that's maybe counterfeit on this river. Or devalued on this river, I guess is more likely, more what I mean. So I'm all in. As I did before, I'm going to swap out this heads up table. And here, just going to bet small versus the recreational player. And he folds. Defend 6s. check fold that flop. I think it's like close versus this, but it's a 3-liner that interacts very well with his range. So I'm gonna fold. Similarly here, very tight positions have to be pretty selective with your cold 4-bet range. Open the 7-6 suited. Open the Queen Jack suit. Another board where you play big bet or small bet. Either strategy is fine. I'm gonna go small bet for now. And when I get raised by, again, this player type, and I have basically the worst hand I'm gonna have here. I have 2 overs, but I don't really think this player type is going to be check raising me with like Jack 5 of diamonds kind of hands. So I'm okay just making a fold there with like the weakest hand I would bet. If I had any of the suits, I would call. Like very small raise, so I don't get to fold much. But I believe this guy's not much of a flop check raiser from the times I've played against him. Raising out ace 8 off and a 7 suited and take 1 down. Pocket 9s, good spot, cut off with a recreational player in the small line, or big line, sorry. And I'm just gonna fold the a7 suited, these positions versus 3-bet. Get a walk with king 5. It's pretty nice. I think it's okay to flat here versus this player type. I mean, they're not super loose, but I think I don't necessarily want to 3-bet this hand. So versus a min raise, these like middling suited aces work pretty well. If it goes like this, is pretty dicey. I'm gonna call 1. It's not amazing, but I can stack off versus this player, and this player will probably play pretty straightforwardly. So like if he jams now, and this guy calls, I have an easy fold. And even versus this, actually, I think I have a pretty easy fold because I don't really think he's gonna bluff into 2 people, and then he's not gonna value bet worse. I'm gonna check down and just give up. 10 high is not great here. I want my opponent to have a lot of 10 highs in his range. So like I want him to be giving up with like 10-9, 10-8, even queen 10 type hands. Yeah. I think he's pretty likely to call that hand if I bet, unless I bet enormous. So I'd rather bluff with just low cards. Basically, like my opponent, when he raises from early position, doesn't have a ton of, and doesn't bet that board and checks the river. If he's playing a reasonable range of give ups and hands that can call, then obviously you don't want to block the highest frequency card in his like check down and fold to river bet, which I would assume be like a 10, because he can have a reasonable amount of either 10 high hands or like hands like we said, like Jack 10, King 10, Queen 10. So I feel like bluffing on that river when you have like a queen or a 10 in your hand is not great. Just bet small here, have a club, very dry board. Obviously there's a flush draw, but not much else going on. And expect not to get check raise enough. Open here. We have that very wide player now on our left here. So you actually want to be a little more careful with some of these offsuit holdings, because you're going to get flatted a lot and have to play out of position with a bad hand. But I think this hand's strong enough still. I'm going to call one. I could raise, but if he bet smaller, I would definitely raise. I think this is one of the weakest hands I would float the flop with versus the size. And now I will have a hand that I can bluff if it goes check, check. But let's fold versus. So again, this hand I don't really want to open anyways from under the gun, but this would make this an even worse open due to the fact that the hand I'm going to get, the spot I'm going to get called most often is going to be right here. Interesting hand. Min 3-bet, min 4-bet. I think I'm just going to 5-bet and call it off. Very bad board. I don't think he necessarily connects with this board that often. It's mainly like 10s, but he has 10s and jacks, and then he can have, because of the spot, because it went 3-bet and then cold 4. This guy 3-bet so small that I'm going to call 10-7 suited and call flop. And here, if he bets, I'm just going to fold. Yeah, not much else to do there. And I don't want to start bluffing here yet with 10-7. And now we'll just show down. So I would say normally this is a pretty reasonable river call. I'm still just going to call. All right, nice hand. I think it's not really making a ton of money as a call there versus this player type. But I have like a 7, which is pretty good because I just like don't interfere with his bluffs. So it's just gonna be like ace jack, ace queen type hands. Even just some other random holdings. I don't think I ever beat value. So like all my 10x are just bluff catchers. So I think like 10-7 is probably a better bluff catcher than like Jack 10 or Queen 10. All right, defend a 4-bet here with 10s. It'll be a much grimmer spot if we get 4-bet top right, just due to that player's tendencies. Fold even versus min raise with 7-3 suit. Just like, I mean, I think that's pretty close. Like 7-2 suit, I'd definitely fold. 7-4 suit, I would definitely call. These positions, pretty strong. I'm gonna still call 1 with 10s with a diamond. It's pretty grim. Basically, like his bluffs are going to contain a lot of like Jack 10, sorry, King Jack, King Queen type hands. So actually not that much of this. And I'll have aces here. So I'm pretty low in my range now. So I think I want to bluff this hand sometimes. So I'm going to go with it this time. This hand's super close and it works out that time. This is a pretty close hand on flop. And here, I'm going to go with a half pot bet. And after this hand plays out, we'll call it there for this video, and you guys can tune in for part 2. So stay tuned for part 2. Talk to you guys later.